What is up, YouTube? I am Shaq Central, and this is the Uniquely Hardcore Challenge. In this series, I am attempting to collect every unique item in Path of Exile, not just in the solo self-found game mode, but in hardcore as well. It's going to be a long grind, and it's going to be a ton of fun. So sit back and join me for today's unique experience. Hey everyone, it's Shaq. Just wanted to explain at the start of this episode, you may have noticed in episode 2 that there were a few times where we basically collected up a ton of uniques and then just kind of showed all at once what they do and put them all in the stash tab at once. That's just because at the beginning, the uniques are coming in so frequently that most of the time, if I don't want to interrupt what I'm doing all of the time, then it's easier to just put them in a dump tab and go through them when we get like 15, 20, 30 or so. So that'll continue for a little bit as at the beginning, we really are just collecting uniques so fast, especially from Ritual, that there's usually just a big pile of them. As they slow down, I'll move to more of a, as I find uniques, kind of revealing them and putting them in the stash tab and showing them off one by one as we reveal them. But for now, they're coming in fast, they're coming in heavy, and just revealing them as we find a big group. So that'll continue for a little bit, and then we'll shift to more individual revealing later on. Is this it? This is it. All right, here we go. Please, I'm worried I'm going to die. And my Exalt shards. Wow, there's a lot of stuff in here. Okay. Oh, wait, the Maven, is the Maven here? Because this is not an arena, so this is just going to be... Okay, okay, I'm concerned now. Somebody help me calm down. So, if this is the Maven watching, this is not an arena fight where I get to prepare and then go into the arena, talk to her, or something like that. I'm just going to be fighting them, and they're just going to be super buffed, and it's a group of them because it's a lighthouse map. Is that what am I understanding this correctly from people that have done this before? Is that 100? Oh, it's an energy from within! Is it? Is that energy from within? Boys? Sure, that works. I'm really scared of this. I shouldn't be, probably. Violence, twin, absorb. I don't know what that means. Oh!
Just need a moment to catch my breath.
Oh, jeez. Probably wasn't as bad as I thought, but... Whoa, boy, did that not look good. Thought that was it for our fearless hero. Oh. Alright. What do we say what do we do with this? Can be used in a personal map device. Okay. Okay, let's do this. Here we go. Maven's Invitaven. If she chucks these are like what looks like the projectiles she chucks. I did see Dan die to these. If she chucks these while you're fighting other stuff, we got to stay away because it is nasty. I'm a little scared. What you doing, lady? Don't look at me like that. Okay. So there's one dude. There's two dude. There's three. I thought this started at 2 bosses. I am very scared. Oh, this is terrifying. Did I do it? Where is she? She's the one that, like, pins you, and I would love to not have that happen.
Blood tribute. Again.
Alright. That wasn't bad. That really wasn't bad. It's 20% increased stack size of rogues markers. Boom. 10% additional chance to contain a smuggler's stash. Huge. You do not understand how much heist we have to run. There's like I think numbers-wise, other than the base unique items of the game itself, I believe this is by far the most we have to collect from any one like league or mechanic is because of all the replicas. So we got 5 new ones. We got a there's three types of beach. Actually, there's 4 beachhead types. There's a white beachhead, which is this tier 1 through 5. There's yellow tier 6 through 10, obviously, and the red one obviously tiers 11 through 15. And then there's an infused one. Big breakfast for regular trade league. I don't know. I did this specifically, and I only thought about this with the challenge and hardcore SSF in mind. Right here, all this stuff. Areas have 10% additional chance to contain insert league mechanic. Always. There's no time you don't want that. You want as much stuff as you can get. But a lot of the specific ones I'm taking because I think they'll help me get uniques quicker. Let's get these 5 in here. So like I said, Beachhead, there's 4 versions depending on what map tier it is. So we got the white tier Beachhead. Easemite Peak is like a no level requirement. Cannot evade enemy attacks, but you have huge fizz damage and a bunch of life at the start. Helmet, obviously. S&S Mark gives you, it's a helmet that gives you movement speed. Also gives you some cast speed and a really high chunk of ES for how low level it is. Brisk Wrap, low level, increased move speed, not negative from your usual chest armor. You get a bunch of mana regen from your flasks and gives you attack speed on a body armor. And then Storm Charger is, as you may guess from the name, it's all about lightning. Gives you lightning resist, gives you move speed, converts fizz damage to lightning, and then as increased effect of your lightning ailments. So check this temple out. We got an Altar of Corruption, which is perfect because I just found in the very last map, I just found a second Bated Breath. There is a defense research lab. So basically this room, and this room all have a chance to drop a unique. And then we've got a couple of breaches. We got to sacrifice a unique room so we could get a new unique from that one, and a chest full of maps. So no Apex, unfortunately, but we've got a really sick temple. So let's do it. All right. Let's check out what we get in the tier 3 fire room. Oh, hello. All right, that was really good. I got to drop stuff off, and then we can pick that up. So here is what we got. We got the Story of the Val Veracite Blade. What a cool weapon. Let's get this in the stash right away because that is something that it's not super rare, but not one of the more common ones. So let's get it stashed for now. All right, so for the unique sacrifice, we have a multiple rot guts. One of the few uniques we have 2 versions of that aren't set up for faded versions eventually. So what do we get? We get, oh, is that animate? That's the animate weapon one, right? Oh yeah, I think typically you put this with an animate weapon or animate guardian. Maybe I'm wrong, but Dying Breath is really cool. That's a great one to get. All right, so we've got the Bated Breath that we're going to double corrupt here. The reason is a couple things. First of all, it doesn't have any sockets. There's little risk of messing up sockets for future use because there is none. Belts actually have a lot of good corruptions on them. They have a huge list ranging from things like AoE, increased rarity. There's a couple of auras that we could potentially use where it could get aura effect. There's a lot of good belt corruptions that we could hit, and the just straight up implicit on Bated Breath is really not that great. Like a chain belt is just kind of low ES, so losing 19 and gaining a couple of good corruptions could be super sick. So let's see. Hopefully we don't get it to go poof, but 3, 2, 1. Well, that's a bummer. That's a real bummer. So congrats to us for the sick Shaper item. It could have been so good. But it ain't. So this happened. Took a little snip. So I dashed. I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. So I dashed across. I knocked this thing down. I killed this thing. Dashed across here to run while the trap was up here, and all of a sudden my dude just stopped moving, and he was sitting down here in the corner, and this thing went off like a couple of times, and then this guy, I think it came down here or whatever, but it must have hit me because my dude just keeled over. So this lagged out for a second, came back, dead. So that's the first character down. So now comes the part where we figure out where we want to go from here. All right, so I figured in order to settle on a new build, we should put all of the uniques that I was saving up for another unique reveal into the stash tab and take a look at them. So let's look at the newest uniques that we've collected. Starting out with a Winter Heart. It's a pretty high life, super high cold res amulet that also, if you ever do get frozen, regens a ton of your life while you're frozen. So pretty cool. There's the starter amulet, Araku Tiki. It's got a lot of life and a lot of fire res for something with 0 level requirement. We got a Retaliation Charm. It's a harvest amulet. It's got a bunch of strength and dex, and basically wants you to be blinding enemies, and you blind enemies when you critically strike, or at least you have a 50% chance. So pretty cool to blind enemies, but it reflects onto you, so you got to figure that one out. Mantra of Flames gives you just a lot of attack damage, fire attack damage and fire spell damage per buff on you. Kind of strange. Malachi's Artifice is one that gives you just a ton of resistance to one specific element in the unset ring. And then Blackheart's one of the starter rings that just gives you damage and stuff early on, damage and some life. Weapons, Gore Drill is a very low level one that gives you a lot of crit chance and does a lot of stuff with, it wants you to basically bleed enemies and gives you a chance to bleed. Story of the Vol we got from the tier 3 fire room in the temple, so that was actually really, really exciting. It's very cool. You get a bunch of life on kill, it does a lot of fizz damage, and then it converts it to a random element, and the hit will always ignite, freeze, and shock. So it's a very, very cool weapon. And a Moon Sorrow is supported by level 20 blind. It gives you a bunch of spell damage and a lot of increased fizz damage on cast speed. So it just is a very cool blind weapon, blind wand. Giant's Bane is an early leveling unique, gives you a bunch of fizz damage to attacks, gives you iron grip and a whole bunch of armor. Alberon's Warpath was a really cool pickup. It gives you a lot of chaos damage to your attacks, a wide range, but chaos damage to attacks is really good. Some chaos res, movement speed, and +1 to your max skeletons. On the big items, Chernobog's Pillar, high life, high fire res, converts fizz damage to fire, and it gives you a chance to curse enemies with enfeeble on hit with a lot of increased effect. Dying Breath, cast speed, max mana. The big ones, it gives you Ink AoE on your aura skills, on your hex skills. Nearby enemies have more increase of your effect of your curses on them, and it gives allies increased damage. So it's just a very cool aura hex weapon. We got a Femurs of the Saints. It is +2 to level of socketed minion gems. This is one I have absolutely no clue what it does, so I'm reading it as you are. +2 to level of minion gems. Minions deal more damage. Gives a chance to block attack damage per summon skeletons and cast speed per summon zombie. Oh, cool. So it has different effects based on your whether you're summoning skeletons, raging spirits, zombies, or specters. Pretty cool weapon. Innsbury Edge, high fizz damage. You do some conversion to chaos, and then you're maiming enemies on your hits. And finally, Scorpion's Call. It's a broadhead arrow quiver for the later leveling or early endgame. Adds fizz damage. Well, you're in, and it cares about basically whether you're in blood stance or sand stance, and has different effects based on which stance you're in. So those are the new uniques. That brings us up above 120, and it is time to pick a new build because we died in a lab trial. So just taking a look through, there are a few kind of build enabling uniques that we have, things like Clay Shaper, Terminus Est, Chernobog's Pillar, stuff like that, but I think for now, because we're so early on still, and I want to develop more, get a few more uniques for future builds, and just develop the Atlas with something that can work purely SSF, I think I'm just going to go back to an old favorite. I want to play different ascendancies throughout this, so I'm gonna roll Elementalist, and we're gonna try out the new Elementalist Ascendancy with the classic Arc build. So.
When I'm ready. Wisdom.
All right, let's see what we got. Oh man! All right, that was a good one. That was very scary, but that was a good one. So let's see what we got. We got the Araku Tiki. Is that the From Dead Jewel? Oh, we got another claw. Pretty safe to say I don't have an Omen on the Winds, so we're going to take that as our quest reward and making good progress on these Act 5 quests. Even though the Delirium type isn't ideal, well, currency is the second one's not bad. Hopefully this is a good look at just how well this build has been performing. The sustain that Inky's got now is insane. I'm regenerating about 250 life a second and about that same mana a second once I apply an exposure because of the Ascendancy. And it's just fantastic. It feels so good. 2 keys. Maybe we'll get to hear the loot filter go nuts. Yeah. It's my favorite. Ooh. Wait. Oh, that's one of the lab, that's a lab specific unique. That's huge. That's freaking huge. That is a big step for the hardcore challenge. Yo, that's very exciting. That's not a common thing at all to find. That was extremely lucky. That made me very, oh man. Wow, that made me like super excited. All right, this might be a bad idea in hardcore, but I'm gonna try to do Merc Lab at 63. It's a little bit early. But the buff from it is huge. Getting out a different type of golem would be huge, and the golems give me enough defense that I'm pretty confident in it. I want to see how much damage traps do right now. It is, because of how much life regen we have, it's really legitimately not bad. The traps are so much less dangerous on this than on a lot of builds because we have absolutely insane life regen. Life regen is currently approaching 500 a second. Let's see how this goes. I'm fairly confident. I think this is going to be alright. This is going to be just fine. Yeah, this works. Here's the final fight.
Need more mana.
There we go. Not the fastest thing, but very smooth. But more importantly, now that we've done that, we get more LE resistances, more damage, and we get ailment immunity along with an additional golem, which is massive. Here we go again.
I shall strike you down.
Conductivity and go to town, pretty much.
May a new dawn arise.
Nice. Well, Inky, rave reviews works real well. All right, as you can see on the number change, this is a big haul. So what I did was, this is every unique that I found during the leveling process of leveling the Arc Elementalist. So right now I have 2 uniques on her, so those are whatever. I had already found those beforehand. But look at how many uniques we found, and I've actually stashed a bunch more. There were like 7 or 8 more. Both tabulas. We had a tabula we started with, and a second tabula went in, and all that. So we've got a couple of different tabulas going on, which is really nice to have. And as a matter of fact, we've even got a couple of. We're on 3 uniques for a few things. The big one is rings because we got to build up to get a lore weave. So I'm just gonna go through these pretty quickly because there is about 25 of them, but some of them are huge. I cannot wait for the shield one, but let's just go through them real quick. Cloak of Flame is an early leveling one that has to deal with ignites and ignite durations and fire damage. Ambush Charge is like a mid-range in the 40s. It's got a lot of life and does endurance charge stuff, basically endurance charge shenanigans and life regen. For helmets, we got a Fairgrave's Tricorn, which is awesome. One of the Fairgrave's like fishing style items. Just adds cold damage to attacks. A pretty low level helmet. We got a Joffrey's Crest, which gives a ton of all res and has +1 to socketed gems. A very solid helmet. Wraithlord gives you +2 to socket minion gems and also regens life to your minions and gives specters a bunch of life. For gloves, we've got an Empire's Grasp. Gives the gems that are socketed in it knockback, but the knockback is reversed, so it pulls enemies into you. Very cool. Let's go on to weapon. We're just going to keep going down the list. Weapons. Rigwall's Charge. It's a mid-level again. Two-handed sword. It's got a bunch of fizz damage, got a bunch of attack speed, and also gives you a bunch of accuracy and movement speed. Another item, unique item that gives you movement speed. It's a big deal. Joffrey's Baptism is level 27, but it's got a lot of fizz damage. It adds some cold damage and then gives you stun direction. Gives you more stun duration, but it basically gives you resolute technique. You can never deal critical strikes, but it's important to note that this doesn't mean you can't miss your attack, so it doesn't give you the full resolute technique. Void Home is like, mid to late leveling. A lot of fizz damage, a lot of attack speed. Gives you reduced rarity and reduced experience gain, though. It is a very interesting weapon. It's got a lot of damage on it, but reduced experience and reduced rarity, along with Mana Leech. Ewar's Mirage gives you a bunch of lightning damage, attack speed. It gives you that really cool, if you're wearing it in your main hand, attacks chain. If you're wearing it in your offhand, attacks fire an additional projectile. And then a bunch of LE damage. For one-handers, we've got, I guess some of those are one-handers, but for smaller weapons, we got Reverberation Rod, gives +2 to socketed gems, and they're supported by Spell Echo, so basically gives you a 4-link with +2 gems in your wand. Twizel is a pretty cool one of my favorite names of a unique item. Socketed gems fire an additional projectile. It gives a lot of fizz damage, so it's an interesting fizz damage, extra proj wand. Sybil's Paw is another one of the claws. We're making good progress on our claws. It's a lot of cast speed and life gain for each enemy hit by your spells, and then you get spell damage per your attack block chance. So it's a very bizarre, very cool. Wants to use spells with your claw. I'm going to skip the shield for now. We got our Bated Breath. We actually found a second Bated Breath on the way up. So the Bated Breath that we lost when the Vortex Trickster died, we got back ×2. Very exciting. Victario's Flight is our boots. We've got damage that we take recouped as mana, and then move speed and some evasion rating and move speed to allies. So pretty cool. Like a reverse mind over matter effect there. For these guys, we've got one amulet. That's the Extractor Mentis. That was the first one we got. And we never got another amulet. So it gives you a chance to gain Onslaught and Unholy Might to nearby enemies on kill. So you can basically, it gives you a chance to buff nearby enemies, which is not good, but you also have a chance to gain Onslaught and Unholy Might yourself on kill. We got a bunch of jewels, so let's do the ring first. Time Clasp gives you increased cast speed, gives you reduced effect of temp chains on you, so very specific but pretty cool ring. We got a bunch of jewels. We got the Threshold for Molten Strike, Wildfire. We got the Threshold Jewel for Freezing Pulse for the first snow. We got the second of the 3 Lord of Steel jewels. This one is the Impale on Hit, chance to impale on hit. Conqueror's Potency is the second of the 3 quest reward jewels that we get in Act 8 from Hargan after the Bathhouse quest. So with Conqueror's Potency, gives you Curse Effect, Flask Effect, and increased effect of your auras. Dead Reckoning is a very cool one. Gives LE resistances to your minions, but the big one is, with 40 intelligence in its radius, your summoned skeletons can summon 15 skeleton mages. And then Omen on the Winds is the Threshold Jewel for Ice Shot. And then down here, I'm going to save this one for a quick second. So these are 3 uniques that we already had or we found, duplicates of. But all 3 of these have a faded version. So we now technically we're like halfway to a unique with these because they all have a faded version that they can be turned into as soon as I have the prophecy. And finally, in normal lab with the witch, I got an extra. I think it was from an extra key. We opened one of the lab chests. It dropped an extra treasure key. Went over, popped open a chest, and out popped glitter disc. This is one of the lab only uniques. You can only get it from lab. I was super pumped when I found this thing. It's very cool. Has a lot of evasion and energy shield for an early game shield. Gives you a lot of life. Gives you increased rarity. You can have a 25% chance to avoid fire damage from hits completely, and then while you are burning, you always ignite. It's a super cool shield. The artwork is like pretty cool, but yeah, it's a lab unique, so I am super pumped for that. And that brings us up to 145 uniques. These ones should be safe for now. I'm about to take these off. There's a couple uniques I'll be looking for on the Arc Witch, but nothing crazy. So yeah, they're up to 145 uniques as the Arc Witch moves into maps. I am super pumped about that. We're making good progress. All right, and that's going to do it for episode 3 of the Uniquely Hardcore Challenge. As you can see, we are pretty steadily building up a stockpile of uniques. I'm very excited about the progress, and as you can kind of tell, the biggest adjustment has not been kind of unique collecting methods, anything special. The biggest adjustment's just been I've never really been a hardcore player, and so learning to not die and not put yourself in dangerous situations is probably the number one skill that I am working on right now. So having a lot of fun. We're making a ton of progress, though. The footage is slowly catching up, and you will see as we progress, we start to move into more of the Echoes of the Atlas content and start building up Watchstones and Atlas completion and all that in the future. So very excited about it. We've got a lot of progress coming your way. Thank you very much for watching. If you like the content, consider subscribing or even following on Twitch. You can catch some of the streams there or join the Discord. Links are in the description below. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. I'm Shack Central, and I will see you in the next one.